Hi folks, my name's Ron with the Aurora Chasers, and today I'm going to be covering how to clean and repair your Miops Splash Waterdrop Kit. So let's jump right into it. So recently I started working on some tutorials for things that you can photograph from home. And one of those is water drops. If you've ever seen those cool water splashes where the droplets are colliding into one another or they're splashing back out of a bowl or things like that, you can certainly do it without this kit, but this Miops Splash definitely makes it a lot easier. So I pulled it out of the gear closet and I could not get it to work. And so I frantically searched online for answers about how to make it work. First thing, of course, is I tried to change the battery. That didn't help the situation. And so I sent off an email to Miops themselves, and luckily they sent me back a PDF tutorial for how to clean it. But I figured let's go ahead and cover that in a video so that if anybody else has this issue, they're able to solve it for themselves. So let's jump right into that. First thing we're going to do is gather up our tools. And what I've done is gone ahead and set the things that we're going to need here. So we have a Phillips screwdriver. We have a set of needle nose pliers, or you can use a slim 14mm wrench, and then the water drop kit itself. So the first thing we're going to do is turn over the device, the unit itself, and we need to access these 4 screws. We're going to remove those, and that'll get us into the electronics and the valve of this thing. And then just set those somewhere safely aside. Okay, now that our screws are removed, the next step is to remove the cover. I found it easiest to just simply put the screwdriver in here and add a little pressure and pop that open. Once we've got the cover off, we'll set that aside safely, and then you'll see the valve body itself, the electronics board, and a battery. Now, this is for the original Miops Splash. If you have the new version, it is USB rechargeable, and we will be covering that in a future tutorial about how to use that. We're going to walk you guys through step by step how this thing works and how to make those cool water drop splashes and what we find to be the best settings. So if you have that one, you can ignore this, but the first thing to check is that battery and make sure that's good. And by the way, make sure you subscribe and click that bell icon so that you don't miss that tutorial when it comes out. But for now, we're going to remove that battery. And the issue I had with this, while we're at it, is whenever I would press the valve button, nothing was happening, and I should hear the valve click. We were not hearing that, and so the next step is to remove the valve itself and clean things up. So again, 14mm wrench, or in my case, because I don't have one thin enough, I'm going to use some needle nose pliers and carefully remove that nut. You'll see the nut on the back side of this assembly here. So we want to slip those pliers in there and not hit that circuit board, and we're going to remove that. Now, once you've got that loosened up, you can simply take your hands and the end of your screwdriver to finish the process for removing it. Once it's loose, it will stay in place because the valve assembly does slip through the housing and kind of keep that nut in place. So what we're going to do now is carefully remove the hopper and valve from the electronics box, gently pulling that out, just like so. We'll go ahead and set this aside. And the parts we need to work on is this valve itself. So if we turn it over to the side, you'll see 2 more screws in there. We're going to go ahead and remove those. Make sure you keep your fingers over this cover because there is a spring in there, and if yours isn't all gunked up, it could pop out of there and you don't want to lose parts. So make sure you're gentle with that and you keep pressure on that so that it doesn't fly away on you. Setting those screws safely aside. Okay, now we're going to carefully remove this cover. So we're going to slip this cover off. And now gently and carefully remove the valve itself. Give it a little twist there. Make sure you hang on to it good. You'll see there's a spring in there. And we're going to set the hopper aside for now. We'll come back to that in just a minute. But the next thing we want to do is gently remove this valve from the valve body. We're going to go ahead and take a toothbrush and some vinegar and clean up around inside there. And then we're going to brush this around, clean that up inside. And then we're going to do the same thing inside the hopper housing. So you're going to take a little bit of vinegar and a toothbrush or some small little brush. You don't want to scrape it or do any damage to that because then you'll lose the seal. So you just want to use some kind of a light brush to get in there and clean that out. Once you've cleaned that out, we can put it back together. So we're going to take our valve assembly and we're going to put that back together. Going to carefully put the valve back inside the hopper. And we'll put our cover on, make sure those screws line up the same as they do here. And now we're going to carefully replace this back into the control box. So the nut is still inside there. What you're going to want to do is slip this in because that nut will not fit on once you do. And then just gently lift that nut in place until you're able to start threading it back on, like so. Tighten that up. Then we're ready to replace the battery and put the cover back on. If you need a replacement battery, this is a size A23. Now, before we put that cover back on, we want to double check and make sure that that valve is actually working at this point. So we're going to go ahead and slip this into the on position. And then what we want to do is check by pressing the button to make sure the valve is actually clicking. So we are good to go. We can replace that cover and we're ready to start shooting some awesome water drop photos. And that's all there is to it, friends. If you like this video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below telling us if this was helpful for you. We always appreciate that. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the future. Make sure you like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so that when we do our tutorial on the Miops Splash and how to use it, you don't miss it. All right, guys, thanks. We'll catch you in the next video.